Hi, I'm Jo Klink, co-leader of the Aviation Club, and today I have with me Jonathan Shannon by Skype. And Jonathan is the Public Affairs Specialist from the Office of Marine and Aviation Operations at NOAA. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello, Joe.
Can you tell us, in case some people don't know, what does NOAA stand for?
Yes, so NOAA stands for the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. So even though you probably deal with their products every day and they have really good impact on you, we're the most useful agency you may have never heard of.
Okay.
So the National Weather Service is part of our agency, as well as National Marine Fisheries Service.
Okay. What is the mission of NOAA?
So the mission of NOAA is it's a scientific agency that explores the world from the surface of the sun all the way down to the deepest parts of the ocean. And what we do is we do science, service, and stewardship, basically, is NOAA. And I can talk about our line at least, but there are 6 different lines. It's a lot to unpack.
I'm sure. And what would be some of the projects that you would do to help carry out those missions?
Yeah, so here at the Aircraft Operations Center, we support all of the different lines of NOAA. And we have both aircraft and ships. And so they help support the atmospheric and the oceanic research that goes on, as well as management of our fisheries, mapping and charting of our coasts, and understanding of atmospheric phenomena, such as either weather or pollution or other things like that.
Wow.
So for our aircraft, we're most famous for our hurricane hunters, but we also have a bunch of light aircraft that do missions as far-ranging from counting marine animals, marine mammal surveys, to doing air quality assessments over forest fires, to mapping our national coastline.
That's a lot of different things. I didn't realize that you did so many things. But those of us here in Florida, of course, are very interested in knowing more about your hurricane hunters. What kind of planes do you use for hurricane hunting?
Yeah, so we here at the NOAA Aircraft Operations Center use 2 different types of planes. We have one of our aircraft is the WP-3D Orion. It's a turboprop plane that flies into the hurricane itself and takes measurements inside the eye as well as through the eye wall and all around the hurricane. Our other type of aircraft, we have one of those, is our Gulfstream 4 aircraft, affectionately known as Gonzo, that flies over and around the hurricanes, dropping these sort of weather balloons in reverse called dropsondes that take a profile of the atmosphere. So both the 2 P3s, which are nicknamed Miss Piggy and Kermit, and our G4 Gonzo work together as a team to help forecasters figure out where the storm might be going, as well as the strength of the storm, current conditions, is it intensifying, is it weakening, all of those things that are really necessary for people in Florida, emergency managers or others to figure out to get their families to safety.
And then once the data is collected, do they transmit that then to, as you said, to other agencies that then make forecasts or determinations about the strength?
Right. So our aircraft are basically aerial laboratories. So they're really special, very unique airplanes. So what they do is they collect information in real time using these dropsondes, which I'll talk more about in our conversation with the community center, and then also using sophisticated radars. So on all 3 of our airplanes, we have tail Doppler radars that take sort of a CAT scan or an MRI of what's going on inside the storm from the vertical levels. And our P3 can also take horizontal cross-section of the storm with its multimodal radar on the fuselage. So as they take that information from the dropsondes and the radars, that gets transmitted real time from the aircraft as we're flying to the National Weather Service gateway, And that is used by our National Hurricane Center, all part of NOAA, down in Miami, to make those operational forecasts. And it is also provided to the public or universities to run their own models. So when a hurricane's coming, you'll see on the TV all those little plots or spaghetti plots, the spaghetti models. So our information is that baseline real-time information that each of those different universities, researchers, or other groups use to initialize their models to figure out where the hurricane might go.
So it happens quickly since it's in real time. That's wonderful.
It does, and each of these different models have a initialization time, and our aircraft are launched and recovered in order to be able to get that real-time data as close to that initialization time, so they have it in order to start the models with good information and propagate and figure out what the storm's going to do in the future.
So you actually are doing work all over the United States, not only current hurricanes, but current storms, and then along the coasts and the borders of the U.S.?
We are, and actually today I have a very empty hangar. All 9 of our aircraft are out doing missions, or not just in the United States, but around the world. Our 2 P3s are internationally right now. One's in Shannon, Ireland, and the other's in Barbados, flying different missions.
Wow.
The aircraft in Shannon's flying winter storms over the North Atlantic to validate satellite measurements, and the P3 that's down in Barbados is looking at cloud formation in the tropics. So the puffy white clouds that everybody enjoys seeing in Caribbean postcards, how are they forming? What is happening with the atmosphere when that happens? And that's a big mystery in climate models as well as weather models.
Are all of the airplanes based there in Lakeland at the Aircraft Operations Center?
Yes, so all of the employees and pilots are based sort of here in Lakeland at the Aircraft Operations Center. It's where we have our main hangar, most of our support, but they go on the road for different projects all throughout the year. So our 3 hurricane hunters during hurricane season are usually here in Lakeland, unless we get a hurricane coming over Lakeland and they got to move somewhere else to fly it, and then otherwise they're out around the world doing their mission. And then we have our 6 other light aircraft that travel everywhere. So they base out of the civil aviation side of airports, and we can send mechanics or parts or whatever with them to support them on the mission.
Well, that
from here.
That leads me to ask you the question: are NOAA's pilots civilian or military?
So they are actually neither. They are not military, but they are a commissioned uniformed service. So they have the Navy equivalent ranks. So there are 8 uniformed services now, I guess, with the creation of the Space Force. There are 5 that are, the usual ones you think of when you think of the military, the Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force, and then the Coast Guard. And then there are 2 more that are specifically for science. So especially with the coronavirus in the news right now, the U.S. Public Health Service is a commissioned officer corps that works with the Health and Human Services, CDC, to monitor outbreaks, to work, do that science. And then there's our NOAA Corps, which does, we've got about 321 officers in the NOAA Corps. They drive our ships for science, they fly our aircraft for science, and then they serve in when they have ground assignments around NOAA, they serve in other formats at NOAA itself.
That's very interesting to know that about the different pilots and being uniformed. So that means we need to salute them, right?
Well, if you are in uniform and they outrank you, I guess, yeah, they deserve a salute. We don't have an enlisted component, though, which is different than, the military side. So it's federal civilians or wage mariners, if we're on a ship, working with these commissioned officers.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for giving us a foretaste of what's to come. We really look forward to when you come, and you'll be coming by Skype as well, just so our audience knows that. So we want to invite all of you to join us on Thursday, February 20th at 1:15 in the Social Center. And Jonathan will be speaking about the Hurricane Hunters and all the other aircraft that are used by NOAA. So please join us.